As Air Force One traversed thousands of miles, moving ever closer to its destination, the small party of representatives accompanying the president were talking shop in the plane's lounge. Donald was again in full swing. Let's try to appreciate the nature of our new brothers and sisters that we're about to meet. They are naturally servile people. They are simple, pure, and above all honest, so we're to be on our best behavior. Doubtless many of their customs may take us by surprise, so be patient and respectful at all times. Donald was used to preparing people for activities with other cultures within the Empire. He had even wanted to pursue a career in history before Tom had talked him out of it. They had been in politics together for 18 years when Tom won the presidential election. As soon as he was sworn in, he offered Don the post of Chief of Staff, and he saw it as his big opportunity to really make a difference. It had never been more important to him than today. It is imperative that you follow the guidelines for first contact. Don't forget, you're ambassadors for all of us at all times. There is no higher honor or responsibility. Okay, fellas, dismissed. Go get a drink. The representatives went off to their respective duties, and Donald made his way to the president. As Tom gazed out of the window, he was lost in the rolling clouds, in a dream of the future. He saw big things happening in the next few years, and he had to make sure that things started changing for the better. He had this chance to fight for the cause of peace, and he was going to make the most of it, whatever the price. He had a name for it, which Donald had heard many times before: the Great Adventure. Tom was brought out of his introspective by Donald, who had come to tell the president it was almost time for the descent into New Sarin. Time for the Great Adventure to begin, Tom, said Don, smiling. This was it, he thought. At the airspace monitoring station in Peaks Point, a blip came into the top left-hand side of Specialist Bryman's radar screen. Monitoring the northernmost tip of his empire's airspace, he had been told to expect this, and now there it was, a signal from another empire. He announced the contact to his supervisor, who acknowledged and called his superior. Bryman knew that one day he would be telling his grandchildren about this moment when the pairing happened. 5 miles above them, approaching fast, was Air Force One, and thanks partly to Specialist Bryman's small contribution to history, radio contact had just been established. This is Air Force One reading you loud and clear. Columbia Fields, approach heading 237 degrees, flight level 8,000. We will see you soon. James was on his best behavior over the radio. Roger that, Air Force One. We look forward to seeing you very much. Be aware that escort fighters have been scrambled to meet you. This was fantastic, thought James. Once-in-a-lifetime stuff. Best not make any mistakes now. He eased forward on the control column and Air Force One descended slightly. He was perfectly on track. In the rear of the aircraft, Tom was playing with his tie, a sign that he was nervous, something that John Raymond Linson had seen him doing a lot recently. John was the vice president and had been close to Tom since they ran for office a year and a half before. John was a different breed to Tom and Donald, not to mention a good 10 years older than both. He certainly didn't agree with the preaching about peace, but as vice president he was loyal and supportive to Tom, even if sometimes that clashed with his own judgment or feelings. Above all, though, he wanted to be a good VP, and he was. You want to look your best, Tom, so quit playing with your damn tie. This will go well, I know it will, said Tom nervously. Of course it will. We have a hell of a team here, Tom. We'll make an impression that will follow us into the history books, my friend. Count on it. The plane lurched sideways suddenly, followed by a prompt apology from James on the PA. Sorry about that. Try to hold on. It's going to get bumpy from here. James was hard at work trying to keep the aircraft on track now. The tower at Columbia Fields had neglected to mention a fierce crosswind, but he had suspected this, as he was told they would be testing the pilot of AF-1. It was all part of the mysterious pairing tradition, and he was doing well so far. So far. Wind shear! Wind shear! The aircraft's ground proximity warning system rang loud in James's ears. Shit, he thought. He had assured the president that this would be a flawless approach and landing, but he had no idea that Columbia Fields would let him fly into a microburst. This was a headache. The jumbo's engines roared up to full power to escape the loss of lift created by the wind shear and rose slowly. The runway lights shone brightly just 1 mile ahead now, and despite all that nature and their new friends could throw at them, James Harper had kept AF-1 on track all the way in. Someone was going to be impressed. Captain Richard Watson was the man that was impressed. He was one of a handful of Serans that had made an advance party in the form of an exchange program that had come to Respion a few months before. He had swapped places with the base commander of Columbia Fields, the northernmost airfield in the Respion Empire. The chosen approach to the field was indeed a tricky one, and he had not anticipated the wind shear that AF-1 had just flown through. Yet he was relieved that the pilot was good enough to handle it, let alone stay on track the way he did. He now felt happy to hand over the base to the Serans, which is one of the gestures involved in the pairing tradition. The aircraft was just one more turn from safety. When AF-1 was 30 seconds out, James made the last maneuver before landing. A sharp left banking turn to line up with the runway. As the escort fighters accelerated past him, he set the aircraft down perfectly. All in all, it was a flawless flight. As for the wind shear, he should have lost control, but he didn't. It seemed fate wanted them to make it, and now they had finally arrived. The welcoming committee eagerly awaited the jumbo as it taxied the last few feet to the red-carpeted reception area. Emperor Honoriad took a deep breath as he watched the impressive-looking aircraft automatically extend its steps. It had perfectly lined up with the carpet, he noted. He had hoped he would live to see this day, and now here it was. His health had not been good recently, but he was running on adrenaline today and felt as sharp as a tack, which was not bad for an 86-year-old, he thought. Inside the aircraft, Tom had just taken a deep breath also. He gave one last thought to the handshake, nodded at his VP, and started down the steps to the Emperor, to history.